Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions on a Sunday afternoon, BST. In the UK, BST, 4 p.m. It's a different time around the world, but thank you for joining us. Anyway, back again in the hot seat is Liran Hirschkorn. Sharon is here, and of course, Kata. Same team, same lineup from last week. This week, we're going to be talking about work-life balance on show 68 or 69, so hence I don't have a work-life balance. So, without further ado, Liran, would you like to let the ladies kick off today?
Absolutely.
Who wants to go first?
Catherine can go first.
Okay,
Catherine?
then. What do you want to know that you don't know already? Clinical psychologist.
Absolutely.
Work-life balance trainee. Amazon seller, title leader, mother, wife, all sorts. So yeah, that'll
So any work-life balance there, or?
You know, it's a work in progress, but I'll let you know more about that in a bit.
Okay, sounds good. Sharon.
Hey guys, so my name is Sharon Even and I am an Amazon seller, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am an Amazon FBA coach, I'm a YouTuber, and I am on seller sessions now almost every week, which is another thing I can add to my resume.
Exactly. Are you a guru? I know you said that. You're not. I'm pulling that one.
Hell no, I'm not a guru. I wrote something in my group the other day, and I was like, I definitely do not consider myself an expert or a guru, and then I wrote about the subject that I spoke about.
Excellent. Liran, you're up next.
Liran Hirschkorn. Is this like an intro phase? Is that what we're doing here, Dan?
Yeah, we're introducing ourselves.
Just doing a quick hello, but yeah. Anyway.
I've been selling on Amazon since 2014. I started a few different private label brands, and I also run an Amazon ads agency. And this week also launched a new podcast called E-commerce Mindset Podcast.
I've already heard both. Three
What's that?
right? You've got 3 up now,
It's got
right?
3 episodes out. Yeah.
I got 3 episodes out.
Cool. And where can they find them, Liran? I want everyone on Seller.
It's actually in the process of getting approved for iTunes, but it's on like Spotify and Anchor and some of the other platforms. So for right now, probably Spotify is the most popular platform where you can find it.
Joe Rogan's just moved there, isn't he, for 100 million?
What's that?
Joe Rogan is just agreed terms with Spotify.
Yes.
Estimated $100 million.
Yeah. Exclusive deal with Spotify. Pretty good for a podcast. But when you have an audience, that's what you can.
That magnitude, yeah. I mean, like the guy's been going for years, and let's be honest, he's like, what he does is phenomenal. He's the top of his game, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. So he's
well, if he got 100 million, then he's making more for Spotify. So well deserved.
Yeah, well deserved. If you can go and get that kind of money, good luck to him. That's life changing. So life balance, work-life balance. I don't have it. Oh, got a bit of feedback there. Kat, let's kick off with you. What's your work-life balance all about?
Mine is a tricky one because I've been a stay-at-home mom for so long. Following my husband in the military life meant that I had to sort of give up my career, my clinical practice, or get certified in every single country we ever lived in, which is a lengthy and expensive process. So what I did instead was to just accumulate diplomas and masters and whatnot, and learn English. I've only been speaking English for 10 years next month. So it's been 10 years that I've been very busy, and work-life balance hasn't really been drawn very nicely because I haven't been doing paid work all along. So it took me a while. Now, ever since I enter the Amazon world, the first thing you realize when you do is this passive income that all the gurus, as we were talking about, sell you is not such thing. If anything, you probably work more, because even when you're not actually physically working, your brain's still thinking, dreaming, breathing, exhaling Amazon all the time. And you are exhausted in a different way. mentally exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been working really hard on it, and I have made my purpose to learn a lot and apply psychology to precisely this point, to help people realize and, you know, identify at an early stage when they are heading towards burnout and how to draw those limits so it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm still working. I'm still very much guilty of that several days a week, but we are getting better, and just moving in that direction.
Cool. What I'll do is we'll ask a few questions, but spin it around the room, because obviously there's more to it, work-life balance. We'll unpick that a bit later. Liran, for you, you're like me, you don't sleep, mate, do you? I mean, there's times where we just live off the coffee, don't we?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the perception is that I don't have work-life balance, but I feel like I do have work-life balance.
Recently, yeah. Would you said that a year ago? I've seen it recently because you like on social, you can see spending time with the kids and etc.
Yeah,
but would you say it's always been that way, or that's adjusted?
No, definitely not always been that way, and definitely more so, yes, in the last year. I think also work-life balance is. It can go in peaks and valleys. Like you can go spend, 7 days straight from, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then you could take 3 days and kind of, step back and relax and spend time with your family. And like, I don't feel like it needs to be like, if my day is 24 hours and I sleep 8 and I have, another 16 hours, that those 16 hours need to be split evenly every day for me to have balance, right? Like I can get that balance on the weekend. I can get the balance on a family vacation that I take after grinding for 3 months. I can, you can find the balance in terms of what works for you. That's kind of what I try to do. There are times where I'm working super hard and putting in a lot of hours, but then I'll take the next day and, I'll spend time in the morning with my family, or especially now during the lockdown, I feel like I've had a lot more time with my family. During this time, everybody's home. My wife is working from home. My daughter is not going to school. Like I actually feel like I have a lot more opportunity to create that balance now more than any time in the past, just because, I could take the first hour of my day and spend it with my daughter, where in the past she'd be out to school, by 8 a.m. So, I do feel like though that having balance will make you better in your business, right? And not just balance like family or relaxation, like just balance of stepping outside of your business, like just time alone with yourself, is really important to get you to like, whether like, that to me, that's like going for a run or going for a walk. You're stepping outside of your business, but that actually helps you in your business because you get a chance to think. It's you with your thoughts. You come up with ideas. You're creative. Like all that stuff, I feel like makes you better in your business, as opposed to, not having that balance. So it's kind of ironic, but that less hours actually working in your business can lead you to have a better business. Yeah, being more effective. Sharon, let's bring you in here. What's your essence of work-life balance for you as it stands right this moment?
0. It's like it doesn't exist. So we have a big house that's built upwards, like it's a tall house. So we have 5-story house, and my office is on the 4th story. So like my husband and my son are downstairs right now, and I can't hear them. No matter what they do, I won't be able to hear them. And my office where I'm speaking to you from now, obviously, is on the 4th floor. So when I'm here, I don't really feel like I'm at home. But before COVID, I had a rule where I started working from the minute my son went to kindergarten until 4, which is when we used to pick him up. And then from 4 till 7, I was without my phone. I wasn't working. I was just with my son. And then from 7, I started my coaching during the night because I live in Israel and most of my clients are either in America or Canada, which is my evening. And my hours are all over the place. We've got people in New Zealand and in Europe. So I work at crazy hours. But now that my son won't be in kindergarten until September and we're free, I've got the worst balance in the world. I'm consistently up and down from the office. I'm consistently with my phone. And because I knew we were going to be speaking about this subject today, which I actually picked to speak about, which is ironic and ridiculous, it was my son's birthday on the 20th. And I was like, okay, I have to like take the day off completely. So I blocked off my entire day, and I took the entire day off. I had no coaching calls. I didn't even open my Amazon, like my laptop. I just looked at the app. I didn't do anything apart from just be with my son and my husband. And then it ended up being like that for almost 3 days, almost. And I was like, oh my God, I've been missing out on so much, and I have to really make changes. And I saw someone wrote in the feed, I don't know if you saw it, that I don't sleep. And the truth is that I don't sleep. The truth is I sleep about 4 hours a night, and it's very, very bad. And I work way too much in my business, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and pretend everything's perfect. I could be in many different places had I outsourced more and taken care of myself more rather than become a workaholic. But the truth is it fulfills me, and I love it. Yeah. So like, if you ask me, do you prefer to sleep? And I know Liran's going to say something about it probably soon, but do you prefer to sleep or do you prefer to work? I will always prefer to work rather than to sleep. And the thing is, as a mum, I'm really okay if I only sleep 4 hours. Like, it's not the end of the world. And if I feel I need, I'll take a nap in the afternoon or something like that. Because I know that everyone always tells me you don't sleep enough, and I don't. But it's just because
And Sharon, everybody wants what they don't have. Okay, so I pretty much sleep at least 7 hours a night. Okay, and on the one side, like, it makes me happy. Like, I mean, Jeff Bezos sleeps 8 hours a night every night, right? Like, if he can run Amazon and sleep 8 hours, like, certainly I can, and do what I need to do. But at the same time, I wish I could be the type of person that would sleep 4 hours a night, but I'm really not. Like, I can't. If I go to sleep like late, if I work till 1 or 2, which has been something I haven't really done since the beginning of this year, I'm going to sleep by like 11. But if I go to sleep by 1 or 2, then I'll wake up at 9. Like, I've never been the type of person that can sleep 4 hours. And part of me, hears you and says, on the one hand, like, I wish I could be the type of person that could sleep and get away with sleeping 4 hours. On the other hand, it's good to get your sleep, right? Because like, it'll make you more productive the next day, unless you can get away with it and you're still as productive. That's even sort of better, right? Like, to me, that's kind of like a superpower, right? Like, if you save 4 hours a day on sleep, then in a month, you got an extra 120 hours of productivity. That's amazing. As long as you can get the same level of productivity as somebody who sleeps 8 hours, like, that's a pretty incredible, like, superpower. Part of me wishes I had that superpower.
I think it's just being a woman is part of the superpower, because for the minute I gave birth, I probably won't sleep anyway. Ever since I had a baby, I'm kind of used to not sleeping. But in general, I definitely could be more productive with my time. I'm very open about this with my following, and I say I could be more productive. My time management skills are not of the best. I say I'm going to do something, I have my organizer, everything's always written, and don't always do it, because life is, especially right now during Corona, is so like dynamic. I could decide that I'm going to be working on something specific, and then like my son, literally before, like 10 minutes beforehand, my son walked in here, and I was like, oh my God, if I would have been in the live, like, I did a live
Don't worry about it. We've had half naked people on the live. We've had cats.
Oh my God. I did a live.
There was a guest star, I won't name, but someone was walking along in the background with a top off and holding the baby as they went past on the screen. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know if any of the audience really noticed it, but there you go. Yeah.
They did. I did a live like a month ago, and my husband fell asleep on the couch, and he had my son's like monitor. My son's he's 3 now. He's 3, but we still, because we have a big house, we still have a little camera in his room. And I could hear my son screaming, like he was saying, "Mom, Mom, Mom," and like my husband was supposed to go with it to him, and I'm like texting him while I'm doing the live. I'm like, "Why aren't you going to Ariel?" And then I realized that he'd fallen asleep, and I'm in the middle of a live, and I'm like, "Shit, what do I do?" So I just, do what you do, children, family first. I said, "Guys, I'm really sorry. I have to stop the live," and then I came back on like 20 minutes later, which is part of having your office at home.
Indeed. I'm going to say some hellos to people in the feed. We're not ignoring you guys. Helen Graham says, morning from Seattle. Owen says, hi, Danny. It's Sunday, a day of rest for normal people, but we're not normal.
I always love the watching his thing with those gigantic glasses in his profile picture.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
I just think that's so funny.
Pat Taylor says hi to all. Juan says hi, Masters. Good to see you on Sunday. Sharon Even has a great work-life balance, but she hardly sleeps. Lol. What time did you go to bed last night? That's a private question. Cybe says hi, guys. Within one day, the announcement Spotify's stock valued increased by $5 billion.
There you go.
Rogan.
Oh.
That's why that 100 million is worth it.
Helen says, haha, nothing passive about Amazon. Ain't that the truth? Cybe says, you guys are priceless. Floren's back. Balance is bullshit. Blend your life. This is according to my wife, who wrote a book about exactly that. I'll send you a copy, Danny. And who else wants it? Pop it in the feed. We'll give it a plug, mate. Facebook user says, hello. So we're losing some of these. Balance was also provide a high evaluation of when you try and sell your business. Adam Smith says it's so hard in lockdown with kids and keeping up with work. Tiffany says, good morning. Helen says, real life. Facebook user says, what up? Sean is here. You guys are all awesome. We love you, Sean. Thank you for saving me in China. Oh,
Sean, by the way, Sean just completed his 75 hard days. One of which was going to bed early and getting up earlier and getting his rest in. And I'm so super proud of him. Sean, you rock. So inspirational.
Do you know what he done for me? I was staying with him in China. I had such a rough time and I nearly got on the flight home. I was like, fuck this. I've had enough. I'm flying home. I've done my pieces and I just wanted to get out there. He took the day off. He was meant to have other commitments and he took me around the city. We went and had food and he chilled me the fuck out. And I'd only met him like 24 hours later. He's a really, really decent guy. And,
I know. And
you don't find many people like that. But literally, I honestly was going home, but he was with his partner. He said, look, go and spend some time then. He's spinning out, right? So big thank you to Sean and a big shout out to you, mate. You're a decent guy. Jamie Paros is here. Hey, guys. Another great group over in Australia. Liran, you should chat with Jamie about his group over there. We done a call last week and I think it was like 436 people on a Zoom call. It's crazy.
Wow.
Sean says, anytime, brother, beers in China. I ain't going back, mate, but I'll see you again soon somewhere else. Luke Knight says, such a potty mouth, Danny. Sorry. Okay, so back to the program. Just look in the feed. Monica's here. Sharon's in the feed as well. Who else is here? Tiffany's here. Helen, Trevor's here. Jamie Sahal. Who else have we got? Alan's back. Juan is here. Nicola here. David is here. Graham. Mark Rosser. How you doing, brother? I haven't seen you for a while. And Athena here is saying that Kata is a superstar. Yes, we know. Right. Back to work-life balance. I'm going to put something out there in terms of I don't have work-life balance at all. I'll work, hit a wall, collapse, work, hit a wall, collapse, work, hit a wall, collapse, and never learn from it. But one thing I can take out of this whole COVID thing is I'm home with my family, or my family's home with me. And my original concern was, how are we going to put up with the two of them in the house? You know, it's like, are we going to clash and everything else? But it's been beautiful. It's been wonderful to have my wife and my daughter home. My wife's working upstairs. I've got my own office here. My daughter's 14. She takes care of herself. So when everyone tells me about, oh, yeah, got the kids at home and homeschooling, I'm pleased to say and thankful and grateful I've not had any of these things to worry about. I don't have young children like you guys, like you, Liran.
Yep.
You know, like used to, you know, your children are young. How old's your daughter, Kata?
9.
Oh, she's 9. So again, you know, she's in between that age where as at 14, my daughter can do her schooling. She takes care of herself most of the day. And it's really, really, from that side of things, I'm blessed. I've had it really easy. But I've seen people in the feed, like I know like Luke in the feed, young boy. It's difficult when you've got young children. Very, very difficult. So let's talk about that for you guys, how you're managing that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have...
Sorry, that's my youngest baby, my dog.
For me, I have, you know, I have my 6-year-old
Yes.
at home. And, you know, she has Zoom school, like kindergarten on Zoom. And she's off of it. She hates it. She's on. She doesn't want to go on. She goes on. Like, you know, it's definitely somewhat of a struggle. At the same time, my wife is also working from home, and she's also dealing with that a lot. Probably I probably rely on her for a lot more than that than what I'm doing. And then at certain times, if my wife says, "Hey, I have a call, like, can you deal with her or whatever," then because I work for myself, I could do that. And then I'll deal with trying to do something with her or entertain her or get her to go back on Zoom or whatever. And the truth is, we've allowed her. We've been all super lax about, like, it used to be before COVID. It used to be like no iPad, nothing during the week, only on the weekends. You know, like you wouldn't be allowed to have the iPad or device during the week.
Yep.
Now, I just implemented today no iPad during the weekends because during the week it's so, you know, she's on Zoom school, so she's on the iPad, and then in between they have breaks and stuff, and she's just on it, and we kind of have to let her because we have no choice because we're both trying to work, and you know, YouTube and Roblox and Minecraft are like the babysitter. And you know, that's the reality of it. But now I just said, like, hey, you know, she's on it so much during the week that there's a new rule now during the weekends, no iPad. And that's trying to get balance. But the truth is, you know, I'm sure for a lot of us, our kids are watching a lot more TV and are on a lot more devices than what we'd like them to be. But I also know it's not forever. I know in the fall she'll likely go back to school in the fall. It's not going to be forever, and like this too shall pass. And so I'm not like going crazy over the fact that she's spending more time on the device than, you know, kind of what I would like her to be on, because it's like an addiction, you know, like, I mean, these games and YouTube and whatever, like, it's an addiction and it's not good.
Yeah. Sharon, being the one with the youngest.
Where should I start? It's tough. My son turned 3 the other day, and it's not easy. And we're out of quarantine, and his specific kindergarten didn't make it past, like they didn't survive COVID, as in like money wise, because it's not something like, it's a private kindergarten. So he's now going to be at home until September, and it's tough because it's that kind of age group where you need to do, you know, certain like crafty stuff with them and teach them things and keep them entertained, basically. And it's tough. It's tough. So and for 2 whole months during COVID, we didn't leave the house. We had no one come here, which includes my mom, who lives on the end of my street. Like, not my mom, my grandma lives on my end of the street, but my mom lives like 2 minutes away from me. We saw no one, only from like outside, like, as in they would stand outside next to the mailbox and be like, hi. So we had 2 months of being stuck at home, my husband, my son, and myself, and my husband and I, like, working the exact same that we did. And just, you know, I'm with him during the day, he's with him during the night, blah, blah, blah. And it's tough. It's really, really hard until things got a little bit easier here. And then we started getting help. And it's not easy. I'm not going to pretend that it is. It's fun. It's fun. And certain times I'm like, oh, like, it's so fun. I'm really enjoying not having to wake on the dot up at like 7 a.m. to take him to kindergarten, which, you know, is fun and things like that. I am enjoying him being home during this time. It's the kind of age, like, you guys have older kids than me, so you know this more than I do. It's the age group that I know you don't get back. Like, it's also, as much as it's the most hardest age group, it's also very, very fun. But working the way that we do, and we both work from home, and having him at home, it's been tough. And I feel sorry for the children who are stuck at home with parents who don't know how to deal with this stuff during COVID.
Yeah. Kata?
For me, it has been very interesting because we not just going through this, but we're also moving across the Atlantic back home to England. We have several launches planned. Matt was just getting over some illness because he was dealing with Lyme disease. I just had surgery this Tuesday. I had something on my thyroid, so this is my first day back on track.
Yep.
And a lot of things have happened that are way beyond our control and way beyond COVID. And at the same time, Lyra's teachers, she has to do so much work that I make a decision to say no to. And I made it based on my professional experience, you know, as a clinical psychologist, but my expertise was in kids and educational. And I said, you know what, if we're going to get something out of this time, it's going to be outside of the house. Your academics, you're going to catch up with them in September. This is my approach, which, by the way, is not shared by my husband, which is conflicting. So I said to Matt, I do not have within me the ability to launch all of these products, take care of the house, take care of the business, take care of all of the things that we're doing, as well as academically teach Lyra things that I don't know how to. I just can't do it, so I decided not to. So I'm not a miserable Nancy around the place and make everyone's life hell for these whatever months they're going to last. Matt, on the other hand, he thought he could do it. And I see him struggling every day, having the fight of Google Classroom, why is it not working? It went off again and blah, blah, blah. It's so stressful and it's unnecessary, in my opinion, because Lyra will catch up with it in September. And if this was to be longer time, then I will consider and I will do it. But for me personally, it's no near as important as to actually have fun with them, getting to know them, ask them questions, prompt thoughts, getting to, just see what they are truly like. The kids are not the same with us as they are at school. They never behave as well with us as they do with their teachers and with other relatives. How about we take this time to getting to know that child, the child that's away from the nagging parents, right? And I made that decision and I have enjoyed it because I have bonded with her. I've been very surprised to know that she knows a lot more of life that I will want her to know. And that's also been really eye-opening, and it has prepared me better for what's coming, the dreaded teen years. And it's been rich for me. However, the work balance, again, the problem we have, I think that you're all probably going to agree with this, is that the true problem is that what happens when we love work. Because someone that hates their job don't have any problems with work balance.
Well, this is it. They'll clock off at 5 o'clock and then they'll don't pick up any emails at the weekends because they despise their job.
You don't get to go home.
It's not that you. I don't think the issue is that you love your work. I think it's the issue that there's other things that take the back seat to your work that should be just as important or more important, right? Like you love your work, so you really want to do it, but then you're not exercising, or then you're not spending time with your spouse or with your kids, or you're not focusing on yourself, right? Like, meaning if all you did was work, like work also has a end benefit that you want to get, that is to fuel the life with your family, to whatever, right? To help you achieve other things. And it's I think recognizing that, I think step one of loving your work is amazing because it allows you to not dread, waking up every day and kind of putting everything you have into your work, and you end up producing better work as a result. But, if you love your work, should you not exercise? Because I love work. I love working better than exercising. Right. I
totally agree, but I think people might frame it that way. When someone says, "Oh yeah, I've got work-life balance," or people that look at you, I've got staff that work as freelance for me, and their partners will go to them, "What are you doing this Saturday? Why are you answering?" Well, this is really important because that person's only had PAYE job. They know no difference. So to them, it's like they'll say to you, "You need to have work-life balance," because they've never owned a business. So the perception's different. But I agree with your point. You've got to exercise, you've got to get all these other things out to be optimal, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, today I'm going to be catching up on some emails from the week, right? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with working more, working harder, working on a Sunday. I just think we all have different buckets of our life that we want to do stuff in, right? We have our wellness, we have our family, we have our business, and then we have this other sort of category. And that could be you might want to, save the animals, or right. You might want to be involved in some charity or do something, right? So so I think the balance is not do I hate or love my work? I think the balance is how do I make sure that every single week or month I'm focused on all the areas of my life that I want to be focused on. To me, that's balance. And you're out of balance because you're out of balance, because if you know that that's what you want to do and you don't do it, then you're out of balance. If your entire sort of goals in life are only to work, then you're not out of balance. Then that's your balance. Yeah. But if you do have like buckets, like your health and your family and your business and like some other stuff, then by only working, you're out of balance. So I think we each get to decide what our balance is, right? Like, you know, some people maybe they're living by themselves and then they're not focused on family. Well, okay, then that's not part of your balance, and your balance, you know, should be the things you want. Yeah. But I think the balance is juggling the things in life that we want to do and then actually doing it, right? Because like,
would you also consider working in sprints? You know, like if you work 9 till 5 and you're fixed on a regime, you go into the office, you've got the travel into city or wherever you in London or US or whatever. There's them days become really long, and it's very hard to like configure your days like you can at home. Like for me, I work in sprints. There are times where I will be unproductive, but I'll get on to do a team call. Production's done by the productiveness is done by everyone else bar me, and I have like thinking time. And there's times where I won't do a huge amount, but then I'll work in sprints and I'll be productive. But the team's being productive, so the ball gets moved forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's like, what are my goals for this next year? What are my goals for this next month? What are my goals for this next week? And then did I, when I look back at the end of the week, did I take the steps to get to those goals? Did I hit those goals, or did I take the steps? If my goal is if I say my goal, or that I value my health, and I say I want to exercise 3 days a week, then I didn't do it, then do I really value my health? Or do I just like the idea of saying that I value my health, but I really don't, because I didn't actually push myself to go and execute on it. So what are your goals? What are the buckets of your life, or the things you want to achieve? And then balance is hitting all of them. That's balance. Balance. You know.
I think. Sorry, Liran. It's just that I was listening to you, and I was like, if it was up to us to choose what balance truly is, then I don't think we can actually do that. Because if balance is having enough of everything, so you as a whole are functional, right? So if you love your work and you have no family and you're okay with working all of those hours and sleeping, you know, very little and all of that, yes, you might have balance, you may be okay with it, but it's going to catch up with you.
And then at that point, you're going to decide you're out of balance, and you're going to set some new goals, and you're going to say, wait a second, my goal is really not to work all the time, because now I realize that I'm burnt out. So my new balance is now getting 8 hours of sleep, or, you know.
But wouldn't it be better just to have a preventative mindset, that even though, you know, it may not be like super severe, like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to bed at night every day. But to say, if I continue down this path, it might eventually this and that. I just feel that we don't really think that much of the worst case scenario, that, you know, both Danny and myself, we have had these private conversations where you get thrown things at you that you can't handle. And as much as you want to be productive, sometimes health and other things take over. And you do have to, focus on that. And if balance had been put in place perhaps earlier, we wouldn't have got to that point.
No, listen,
that's not a particular case.
I'm a proponent that you should be focused on. And if it's not family, if you don't have family, it's friends, right? Like, it's family, friends is a bucket, and wellness and health is a bucket, and your business and career is a bucket. And then like your mission or your charity or whatever is another potential bucket. And that we should all have that. And for a balanced life, you should have like, what are my goals for each area of my life that I want to achieve? And then every single week, every single day, I want to hit a bucket. So I have a tracking sheet that I have 7 things I want to do every single day, kind of like in my life. And as long as I do 3 of those things, it's a good day, and I check them off. Why? Because I need to push myself and track myself and set these goals in order to push myself to do the hard things. Because I also know that I could sit in front of my computer for 13 hours and not move And if I don't actually say at the end of the day, I want to look back and know that I had a good day in all areas of my life, not just in my business, but if I didn't meditate, well, that was a bad day. Or if I didn't exercise, that was a bad day. And I said 7 things and I want to hit 3, right? So I don't put like also insane pressure on myself. Like, I want to read and I want to learn something new and I want to meditate and I want to exercise and I want to, I want to watch some kind of training video and learn something new in my business. And then I have my separate business goals for what I want to do for the week. And yeah, my opinion is of the one to have that up front. But I'm also saying that for some people, everyone has different goals and different things they want to get out of life. Maybe, for some people, until you wake up one day and realize I gained 30 pounds, or a friend tells you something like, hey, you really should watch your health, or you have a health scare that's going to wake you up, you're not going to be focused on it. It's much better to be woken up before that happens to you. But that's human nature. We take everything we have that we take everything we have for granted. Look at this period right now that we're in. Like, I took getting groceries, a simple thing like having food in the house, for granted, because now you like have to worry about leaving your house and getting it, or getting a food delivery for granted, somebody delivering something to your house. Like all these things we took for granted. So that's human nature. But of course, if you're watching this, or if you're kind of at a point where you realize like business is not the only thing. I mean, I spoke to somebody today, this week, and they, they're in their 50s, and they said to me, if there's one thing I regret, it's spending too much of my life focused on business and not enough time on my health and family. And their wife just got diagnosed with something, and and like billionaires, and they've done studies on this. And the biggest thing people regret, like the richest people in the world, not even millionaires, like billionaires regret when they look back at their life, is not spending enough time on the really important thing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody on their deathbed says, man, like, I regret.
I wish I worked harder.
Yeah, I wish I worked harder, right?
You don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard, basically.
Yeah, it's the relationships, it's your health, it's like all these other things that I think at the end of the day are really important. And I think balance is for all of us, for us entrepreneurs that are so focused on business and success, is that like being rich is not being successful to me. To me, being rich is just being rich.
It's just that solves financial issues and nothing else. It doesn't solve family, your health, or
you could be a rich asshole. That's not successful to me, right? Like I want to be like a good husband, a good father. I want to be a good friend. I want to be healthy. I want to have good relationships in my life. I want to get fulfillment. Like I want all those things. Yes, and success in business is definitely one of those things that adds to that. But that's to me balance.
What about this though as balance? Like for me, I can't it's not about the money. Like whenever I do anything, sometimes, people look at me and go, you're probably the worst entrepreneur in the world, because I pick projects and they're like, you can make a shit ton of money. Why are you doing that? It's because I enjoy doing it. Like I have to do things that get me up in the morning. So balance for me as well is just picking projects to work with great people that inspire me, and something that's got an end product more than just money. Does that make sense? So maybe that's part of my balance as well, because I get a lot, like you, Liran, and you ladies as well. You probably get a lot of people offering you stuff that can be worth a fortune. Just think, I'm giving away masks, getting donations from amazing people in our industry who's supporting the cause. I could make a shit ton of cash on masks or hand sanitizers, or do you know what I mean? But it just doesn't interest me. So I think you've got to have a look at the balance that you do, is to do stuff that is really meaningful. And for me, that creates balance as well. Think of all those people that are working in the city. They've got the big houses, big mortgages, the cars they're rented, living next door to people they can't stand, trying to keep up with the Joneses, going and do a job that they hate, that they can't then become an entrepreneur because their overheads are so high for their big TVs and everything else. They can't get a work-life balance because they're worried about. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, Danny, one of the things you said, like about, the big house, well, the big house or the fancy car, like all these things, right, that we see a lot and we see people flash on social media, all that kind of stuff. Like there's 2 levels of, you said fulfillment or happiness. There's shallow happy or deep happy, right?
Yeah.
And I listened to Derek Sivers. If you haven't heard his stuff, go listen to his podcast and book. This guy started CD Baby, sold it for $22 million, then put all the money in a charitable trust. Crazy. But what he says is there's shallow happy and deep happy, and shallow happy is eating the ice cream. Makes you happy for that moment.
Yeah.
Deep happy is the feeling you get because you didn't eat the ice cream, right? It's the same thing with the car or with anything that you buy. It's going to give you a momentary level of happiness, right? And then a month later, it's just the same. It's just another car that you're driving, right? Like it doesn't give you that ultimate fulfillment. And I think there is this relationship, like you said, between balance and fulfillment, like getting fulfillment out of your work. I think is also important as part of that.
I can't get up otherwise. Like if someone waves a check under my nose, not interested. Give me something to get behind. Give me something that's meaning. I'll get up every day and I'll do it.
But have you always been like that, Danny? Though, or did something eventually one day you just
what happened is I've always been like that for good or worse. Even when I was in the music industry, I never made the money that I make now from the music industry. I did what I loved, but I've always pursued what I loved. And then even when you left the music industry and you're finding your way and you take some shitty jobs you don't want to do, I always ended back on track to doing what I've always wanted to do. And money was always like, there's a Steve Jobs quote. It's like, if you make meaning, you will make money. And I stand by that, but it's the long money. It takes a while to get there. Does that make sense? So I've never changed my stance on that. But as I've got older, I've only, there's not many years left in me to be full pelt, right? So let's just say I'm 44. Let's say I've got 10, 15 years of real, like going 7 days a week. That's it. I need to make these next 15, 16 years count. So I'm not going to do stuff just for money because it's just for money's sake. Because I can't get up in the morning. I'll probably fail at that because it's only money related. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I'm not stupid. I want to make money as well, but I'd rather take the smaller check and do something fulfilling. Because as we said, I don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard because who's going to have it? I'm not going to have entitled family that I'm going to leave money to. Does that make sense? Like for me, it's important about every day is what you do, what you stand for, the meaning of life. Everything you do is very important. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox one second. Some ways, this is
He's got fulfillment.
I got fulfillment. I don't have a balance like work ethics there, all that kind of stuff. I'll burn out if I don't take a break in the next couple of weeks. I'll probably burn out. That's the real thing. But what keeps me going is the projects I'm working on have meaning. So they're the things that get me out of bed every day. Yeah. But I do know in myself, I need to have a break in a couple of weeks. But anyway, off me back. Sharon, let's talk about meaning for you. What is meaning for you? You do all of these coaching calls. I'm always saying to you, stick your prices up and do less of them.
It's funny because you were saying this stuff and I was like, I don't mean to be it's not that I'm a hypocrite. I try and be better, but I most of the time in this specific subject fail. And like I put on these quotes on Instagram, and I said, okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try to get it. I always go to bed after my husband because of the coaching. And so I'm always coming into bed to someone who's asleep. So I have no problem with being in my phone before I fall asleep. And I fall asleep to being with my phone instead of falling asleep hugging my husband. And the other day I was like, I put it out to the world. I said, okay, I'm no longer going to be in my bed with the phone. I'm only going to either sleep or be with my husband. I'm going to fall asleep hugging him. And that lasted maybe 2 nights. And then the next 2 days I was again with, and I was thinking about how you said about fulfillment. I help a lot of people. I get messages on my Instagram and in the group, and I'm sure you guys get this a lot as well. And the amount of time that I spend helping people for free, which is not necessarily healthy because I spend sometimes 2-3 hours a day, 2 and 3 hours a day that I don't actually have. If I put 2 and 3 hours a day of answering people's DMs and answering every single question in my Facebook group and doing everything that I do, and people write me the emails this long and they think that, I can sit there and read them all. And sometimes I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I don't have time to read an email that long. You can book a call for that. And it's not because I'm a bitch. It's because time is money. And on the one hand, I want to help as much people as I can. And sometimes people have a simple question and it's just like a simple answer. They don't need to like.
Sharon, if you helped everybody for free, you'd be out of business, and then you wouldn't be able to help anyone. Right?
That's true. Which I don't do. I of course I'm like, I've never done advertising in my life, and I'm fully booked every month with my coaching. But I did need to work on myself to teach myself that you can't answer every single person as soon as they put a question up. And I used to answer everyone as soon as they sent me a message. And today, the one thing that's good about that I've learned to do lately is I only go into my Facebook messages 3 times a day. I have specific times where I go in and I check, and it's very difficult. Sometimes I'll be editing a video or I'll be doing PPC, and then suddenly I see on my laptop, which is over here, that someone sent me a message and it pops up on Facebook. I'm like, oh shit, I think I've seen it, because it will probably say seen, but I haven't actually read it. And I'm
the
like,
ticks
oh,
will kill you, like WhatsApp and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I hope that they don't think I've read it when I really haven't. But I've really worked hard on doing that, and that's something that's balance. When I was like, it was actually someone from my group who Stuart, who said to me, like, you don't have to answer everyone. And also my husband always says that to me, like, we're sitting watching a movie and you're answering someone on the phone, like, where's our time? And there's things like that, which I'm not going to pretend I didn't do it last night. We watched TV together and I was on my phone answering someone in a DM, and I struggle with it often not doing that. But the point is, you were speaking about it and I was like, it's because it fulfills me to know that someone is asking something and I can help them. And it's because I want to be able to give them that answer. And sometimes it's a simple answer, but it takes like 3 minutes to write it. You know what I mean? Sharon, and then you times that by like 50, it's a lot of time.
Sharon, so I suffer from the same disease, okay? as you suffer.
I'm sure we're older.
Because I've also answered every single person. I still do. But I realized that there's a reason why, okay? It's because all of us have, if you follow like Tony Robbins, all of us have these human needs, okay? And the human needs are certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, and certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, and contribution, okay? There's 6 human needs that we all have, and growth, okay? 6 human needs. And my top ones are like growth, contribution, and then like growth, contribution, significance, love, whatever, right? And I realized, and somebody told me this, was that you're answering every single person because that's how you get your significance, right? You get to, and when any one action is fulfilling 3 of your needs, it becomes an addiction. So growth, contribution, and significance is why I answer every single question. So understanding that, and understanding that it's really kind of like partly my ego and wanting that affirmation from the person, like, thank you so much, you helped me for free, is part of the reason. Like, understanding that allowed me to step back a little bit from having to answer this second, because it's more about me than it is about them in some ways, right? And like understanding that a little bit will allow you to, it's helped me step back and say, I can answer that in 3 hours. The world's not going to end. And even if they saw that you've seen the message, you could be sleeping, you could be in bed, you could be working on something. Like, you don't have a responsibility to.
Do you both type your messages though? You've got all these questions, because I get a stack of. I send voice clips.
So I do. Voice clips. Sometimes I send voice clips, but
90% of the time I do voice clips. Like 90%, and I tell people, like, you can send me messages, but know that I'm going to answer you in voice clips. But which,
by the way, is super annoying being on the other side of it. Super
annoying. And that's the thing. I know that it's super annoying because sometimes I just want to also go back and read what you wrote to them and things like that. I'll be honest, like I told my following, if you have something urgent, like if you've just been hijacked, you don't know, like something urgent, really urgent, like your listing's gone off. I don't know. You know what I mean? Something's urgent. Type the first thing is urgent. And then like people took advantage of that. It would be like urgent. This is like something totally that could have waited like even days. And I'm like, guys, don't take advantage of that. Urgent means it's urgent. And I will stop if I can what I'm doing and I'll help someone. Like if it's something like, oh, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? I know how it is when you first start on Amazon and you have a panic attack every time something dramatic happens, which most of us have probably been through a million things like that, and we no longer have these panic attacks. But I remember how it was in the beginning, the first hijacker I had, or the first time I couldn't get my account got suspended, or I had a listing suppressed or whatever. And I remember what that panic attack can do to you. And I used to handle it originally really bad, which is why I've made myself available to people. And I said, like, type urgent. And then people took advantage of that.
Can I just say something? I just say something. We're giving up our time for free. And if we miss people, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I've missed a few people along the way. But I don't think that makes us bad people. We're empaths, right? So we want to support people. And I hope that people that are listening now, if I've missed your message, resend it to me. I'll do my best to answer it. If I don't answer it, it's not because I'm intentionally ignoring you. It might be because you're like the 170th message that's hit me today. And I might be right in a situation where most of my time is spent putting out fires. As I run 3 different companies, I get everyone to do their day jobs. My job is to clear up the shit and deal with problems and stuff like that. And not always problems, but ultimately it's firefighting of there's always some sort of emergency. Yeah. And so what happens when it goes like the Matrix on your phone, you sometimes miss stuff. So same to me, repost. But I just want to say to you guys is that we give up our time as best as possible. Yes. Does it benefit our businesses? Of course it does. But there has to be back to this thing of balance. If you're getting 400 messages a week, not all of them can be answered in the depth that the people require. And I always say to people, look, when you ask people questions, try not do war and peace. Come keep it simple. Like if you want to open dialogue, if I've never spoke to you before and you send me a long email about this big through the website, all what's going to happen is I'm going to star it in Google Mail and I'm going to hold it there and I'm going to come back to it because I'm going to need to record a video or something to respond to it because that's 2 hours of my time I don't have there and then. So I always say to people, if you can, compress what you want to say. Start off slow, like introduce yourself first. Instead of saying, here's my POA, can you read it? Because I don't want to spend $4,000 with a company. I will help you, but give us some mechanics to work with. So that's another thing I say to people. If you can, think about the way when you want stuff for free, which is fine, find out what your opening gambit is and try and compress what you want to say to someone, because that's going to be easier. Because Liran, do you do the same when you go, I'll answer that later because it's too long to take in?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, if I get these like super long things, then yeah, I'm less likely to respond on the moment than if it's 10, 15, 20 word kind of quick question, then I can respond very easily and quickly versus
But it's hard with PPC because people have to set the context. So generally, you get this long,
Yeah, and I usually will, like, if people have a question I can answer it quickly, I'll do it. If I can answer in less than 2-3 minutes, I'll do it on the spot. If it's really long, I'll either get back to it later. And sometimes if it becomes an opportunity for a potential client, then I'll just set up a call. Yeah. And I'll take it from there. Danny, I wanted to go back. You were talking about meaning.
Yes.
And on Friday, I was on an hour Zoom call. It was my daughter, my daughter's school principal did a thing for parents, a Zoom, and it was about finding meaning in imperfect situations. And it was actually really, really good. There's a few takeaways from that for me. One was, there's this woman her name is Kelly McGonigal. She wrote a book called The Upside of Stress. And he talked about how she said that actually people who are stressed usually actually have more meaning in their life because they're taking on more. They're taking, like you, right? You said you run 3 companies. You're taking on all these projects. You have a lot of stress from that, but at the same time, you also get more meaning, more meaning out of it. So like, the book is called The Upside of Stress, which is basically like, all these things that we take on are actually an opportunity to find like the meaning behind it and have more meaning in our life. And then the other thing was that the principal talked about was Viktor Frankl, who I haven't read the book, but he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And this is a guy that went through like Auschwitz,
prisoner of war,
Auschwitz, in the Holocaust. And he said that there are 3 types of meanings. There's creative meaning, which is kind of like you create something of value and that gives you meaning, right? Something in your career, or whether that's creating a baby, right? Like, or creating a family, create anything you create can give you meaning. Experiential meanings, which is like the meaning you get out of like passive experiences, out of like music or love or like watching something and getting some kind of meaning from it. And then the last one was, which I think relates to a lot of what we're going through now, is like attitudinal meaning, which is like facing a fact that you can't alter, that you can't change, like dealing with adversity, like COVID, right? That's an external force that we can't change, and kind of digging deep and getting and seeing and like finding the meaning in that, right? And I think like right now is the time where you can, right now is the time where you can complain and bitch, or you can find the meaning, right? Like the meaning is like, what's the meaning behind this? Well, the world needed a break. We needed to get rid of pollution. We needed to spend more time together. We needed to rely less on, on certain things. And like, that's the meaning behind it. And when you can find that deeper meaning, you can find, I think, more balance and happiness in your life, as opposed to taking something and, complaining about it, right? Like this guy I follow on Instagram, it was his son's bar mitzvah, okay? And they couldn't obviously have the celebration that they would normally have, right? It was just like at home with like some Zoom and like some balloons and whatever, right? And a lot of people going through that birthdays. And what the guy told his son, and he's like, look, I'm not sure if my 13-year-old son got this, but what I told him was that if he can find the joy from within himself and not from the external of like the big party and all this stuff, you're actually going to lead a much happier life, right? If you can find as much joy out of just like knowing that you reach this like moment in your life, whether it's a birthday or a wedding or whatever, and you don't need all the external, it's actually a lot more meaningful, right? And like, I think right now is the time to find the meaning behind stuff and get like find a meaning that can work for you to repurpose like potentially something that could be seen as bad.
Sharon, what is your sole meaning from this call? What would you take away as the meaning for you? What drives your meaning?
It's a difficult question. What drives my meaning? Meaning like what makes me, what's my why? Like what do I get?
What gets you out in bed in the morning? What, some people find money's the driver, helping people. What is it? You there to serve? Is it family? What?
I think it's many things. I think it's number one, my husband and my son. And then I'm not going to pretend like so I think it's husband and son and my businesses, because I do get fulfillment out of my businesses. And of course, out of helping people and being able to have some sort of impact. And it doesn't have to be Amazon, just something in their life that I have been able to help them. And the same way that I thank people, like I've thanked you, Danny, because I've said to you that there's things that I've even learned from you. And Michelle, last week, I sent her a message and I thanked her from something that I took from here. And I've thanked Liran. I thank people that have given me something, because I know how it also feels when people say that thank you to me, because I want you guys to know that keep doing what you do, because it helps me as well, because I'm just a human. Sometimes people think that because I'm on YouTube or because I'm whatever, because we're here, we're like, I don't know, we're like the perfect, which we're not. So I also get fulfillment out of and have that meaning, because people are like, oh, thank you for taking that 1 minute and answering me, or thank you for this, or thank you for that. And that is part of my why for one of the things that I do. And I am going to say that another part of it, I am also driven by money. It's not that I'm not, but it isn't the number one. It's not that, not everything I do is around money. If everything I did was around money, I'd be in a totally different place in life, because I wouldn't be just doing this kind of stuff all day and helping people all day. But money is a factor in other things that I do, if you get what I mean, right? Yeah. Like when it's my not my personal branding and not my coaching, but with my brands and the things that I do, money is a factor there, and it's fulfilling. So I think I have many, many whys, and I'm thankful for them. But the biggest why of all is my husband and my son.
Cool. Kata, what about you?
I drive gratitude and connection will be the biggest two for me. I wake up every day thankful for waking up and everything that goes within. And I take long time these days to enjoy the smell of my coffee and everything else. Connection, I have no affiliations. I don't sell services, which gives me a lot of freedom because I can truly say what I think and truly talk to who I want to talk rather than the other way around. And I have that liberty and I'm really enjoying it. My life has been pretty shitty, but I'm winning at it, and that keeps me going. So yeah, I'm a happy person, and gratitude, as they say, makes everything I have just enough, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I live my day. So it's pretty cool.
Liran?
I think the biggest thing for me is, making an impact. Whether that's making an impact in my family life, making an impact on my daughter is like super, super important to me. Making an impact through coming on here, right, on a Sunday. Like, I get a lot of joy and passion out of it, and if like something that's discussed here helps somebody, like, that makes me.
It does, and I get private messages, but I don't post any of that stuff. But I get a lot of private messages, and specifically this show outside of business. Like, during the week, we help a lot of people with business from the guests that we have on, keeping them motivated and learning new things. But when it comes to the weekends, a lot of people, this show has been helping them personally, and you've made impact there as well.
That's awesome. So yeah, I think for me, making an impact, is kind of what drives me. It's what gives me meaning in my life, and that's in a number of ways. That's in, again, with my family. That's on calling my parents, and making them, feel good. It's just making an impact is kind of what drives me. It's through products, right? Through selling stuff, like, whatever it is, it's impact is kind of what drives me.
I think for me, a kid from a council estate, no education, barely read and write as I left school, didn't complete school. I just want to see how far I can take this shit. I want to see if we can hit for the moon and land on the stars. And wherever we land, and if I can help people along the way, then I've done my job.
Yeah, Danny, you
That's
do
the
that
way
every day.
That's the way I see it, is that there's a lot of people didn't make it from where I didn't make it. I weren't the worst off in the world. There's other people far worse off than me, and that's what I'm grateful for every day. But for me, it's like, I want to take the little that I had and see how far I can take it, and if that can make impact, then my job's done. We get one life. Let's make the most of it.
100%.
Yep.
Anyone want to final words from anyone? Liran?
Probably.
Yeah.
Joking.
I mean, I just finished, a 5-minute preaching there, so
No worries.
I think it's good. I think I'll say like I've said before on the show. I think this Sunday mindset is awesome. The 60 days that you've done of this is awesome. You're giving a lot to the Amazon community, and Danny, I nominate that you keep this going lifetime.
I might stop at 100. We'll see.
Danny, you should bring someone to replace you so you can have a day off, like twice a week.
Yes, guest host. That's a good idea. Then we can keep it in the Guinness Book of Records, or the attempt to put it in the Guinness Book of Records.
I think
then we can have them interview you.
No, we're not interviewing me.
He needs to have a day off. But wait, Catherine, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that we went super deep in all perfection, but we weren't very practical. And there are two things that I want to relay that really helped me find that balance when I was starting. And one was the Pomodoro approach, when I would just switch everything off for 40 minutes, head down, get the work done, and then take a rest. And then the other thing was to actually have a time where I will finish work and go home, even if it was within the home, which was 8 p.m. bedtime. Just have one thing that you will never, trump because of work, and start little, but start having a little bit of that, and just having that control, knowing that at some point you're going to end what you're doing right now, and you're not going to cross that line, will give you a bit of mental control and make you keep that work-life balance a little bit better at the beginning stages of your business if you're just starting and all that, because that's when the line really blurs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Best way people can reach you guys. We just had that long conversation. Obviously, please make sure that everyone can still message us all. That's not a problem. Hello, sweetie. How you doing? Hello, cutie pie.
You're on.
She's a star. She's a star on Instagram.
Yes, she is.
Sharon.
Yes, so you can reach out to me. First, you can come to my group, Amazon FBA Alphas, Sharon Even on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff.
What's that?
And Kata?
Just like Kata, titanmembers.com or here on Facebook.
Excellent. Liran?
I have a new podcast and group, both called E-commerce Mindset. But you can find me on Facebook and PPC agency Incrementum Digital. You're gonna
is that the new one?
Incrementum Digital. We'll have a new site up in about a week.
Lovely. Right, guys, we'll bid you farewell. Don't forget, Branded by Women starts on Wednesday with these two lovely ladies plus 36 others. Go and grab a ticket from brandedbywomen.com. The tickets are free. Obviously, there's upgrades you can do, but the initial tickets for each of the days are free. Hosts include Athena Severi. Then we've got Michelle Venton and we've got Isabella Hamilton hosting the shows. I'll be back here again tomorrow, as always, 4 p.m. BST. Thank you for joining us. Stay home, stay safe, take care of your family. Lots of love. Goodbye.
Bye. Say bye. Say bye, everybody.